Okay, guys, here's something else. This is Restoring the Republic, One Citizen at a Time. It's on zoom that. originalintent.org. Okay? I always say okay, I don't know why. It beats the hell out of me. But anyway, this is the Firearms Act, the Federal Firearms Act. It says here, and I'll put a link in after I get everything all squared away. Where does the federal government get its constitutional authority to enact laws such as the National Firearms Act, which has been codified to Chapter 44 of Title 18 of the United States Code? Upon whom are such laws operable and where? Since the careful reading of the Constitution reveals that the federal government has no specific delegated authority to regulate firearms, where does the federal government authority to regulate firearms come from? One would think that the high number of Americans supporting the right to bear arms would question, and this would be of concern. We have heard some questions asked. And let's see. The industry of the past, anti-gun legislation continues to propagate. In other words, without a solution, the firearms industry as we know it will cease to exist. Over the last 30 years, laws concerning firearms have been a matter of public policy with no regard to the constitutional elements involved. Why aren't more Americans challenging federal laws? Well, it costs money and we don't have it, and they know it. We believe it's because the people of this great nation have an internet understanding that the federal judiciary is corrupt and will not honor the Constitution when required to do so. This is true. We also believe that America is not willing to challenge the federal firearms law because over the last 40 years, laws have been written in an ever-increasing, deceptive manner. Even laws that were clear when originally enacted have been amended over the last 40 years to remove specifics of the law and render them more vague and more prone to flexibility interpretations by cooperative judges. Ironically, this has been under the guise of making these laws more clear. As law stands today, the average American cannot understand them, and attorneys generally will not explain the true meanings, lest they lose their advantage over the machinery of the legal system. As you might find this title, the Federal Firearms Act, associated with 18 U.S.C. Chapter 44, let's see. Why do we prefer? All the provisions here are currently codified to Title 1844 were not originally codified there. The Federal Firearms Act was enacted in 1938 and it was codified to Title 15. So what is Title 15? It was titled Commerce and Trade. Do you remember that little discussion about creating vagueness where none originally existed? Well, here's a stunning example. From 1938 until 1968, the Federal Firearms Act was within Title 15. That's 30 years, folks. Despite the law operating just fine for 30 years, somebody deemed it no longer proper to have the law contained within Title 15. Want to guess why? That's right. The government's jurisdiction limits were far too easy to ascertain when the law was within the Commerce and Trade title. It wasn't moving into interstate and foreign commerce, thus the U.S. didn't have jurisdiction over it. However, by moving the Act to Title 18 and thus discontinuing the Act from the title of Commerce and Trade, there are few clues left to the law's original intent and its constitutional limitations. And this just goes on and on and on, people. The same stuff, how they've made everything so vague and changed things around that nobody knows what's going on. So anyway, I will put the link down below so you people can go through this, because this is really, it's an eye-opener. It says the basic meaning of that definition, any place purchased otherwise acquired in the United States by consent of legislation of the states, so on and so forth. Anyway, the basic meaning of this definition is in any location that is not under state sovereignty but solely under federal sovereignty or otherwise within federal jurisdiction. It must be remembered that such federal places exist within the states of the Union. This just goes, there's all kinds of stuff. They did their own alterations in 921 too. They intentionally left out when they wrote the definition of interstate and foreign commerce. I've got to put this up there, people, so you can see this for yourself, because this is go, what the hell? The federal government cannot define a crime that would take place within a state of the Union because the U.S. has no police powers in any state of the Union. Oh, this is something else. And the laws are no longer printed. Did you know that? So anyway, I'll put a link to this thing. Federal Firearms Act. It's really it's a good read. And when you get something like this, you print the damn thing out. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I got a lot to do.